This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to, well, you know what, the news I should have gotten to before getting that video up about, us Oilers fans maybe having a few complaints to start the season, even though we're 6-1. With that said, though, the Oilers did make some moves today, and we got to go make sure we recap that and make sure we're up to date because, you don't want to miss out on who the new guy possibly is wearing that new alternate jersey for the first time in his first NHL game. That's the key here. So you guys know yesterday we got news that with Joakim Nygard, he's got a rib injury for 2 to 4 weeks. That's kind of the news we got on Joakim Nygard yesterday. And then all of a sudden we saw Brandon Manning, for whatever reason, draw into the lineup instead of Joel Persson, and that caused a lot of buzz pregame. I think I was more amped up than anyone else in the league, but we're all freaking out. And then Brandon Manning goes out there and scores a goal, so that's a huge get because I guess before anything, I got to recap the whole Brandon Manning situation a little bit here. Is terrible Chiarelli trade leads to Brandon Manning in Edmonton. You get Brandon Manning playing a couple games. He gets sent down to the AHL, plays a couple games. Then all of a sudden, for the rest of the year, he's the highest paid, or one of the highest. I can't give you the real stat. I don't have those stats, but I'm just going based off of NHL contract. Highest or one of the highest paid AHL 7th defenseman in that league. And finishes up the year in limbo. And I mean, how many times have you heard me demand and bang on the desk and yell that the Oilers need to trade Brandon Manning? And here we go in what was turned out to be a pivotal moment. Brandon Manning scores a goal on a pass from Connor McDavid, of all people, and the world, she's in an alternate dimension, but it just is what it is. But that gets us back to where we're going with today's conversation about what we need to know about the Oilers today, given the fact, that the Oilers are kind of seeing things in limbo here, because we're starting to stack up men lost due to injury here. And like I said, we've already mentioned off the top Mr. Joakim Nygard, but the news you do need to know is Joel Persson is now officially day-to-day with a concussion, so we know how that can work out, right? That could be anywhere from 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks, a month, sometimes a full season, depending on what's actually going on with Joel Persson's head injury. So, scary situation already lining up on our back end. Now, the scarier part is 2 of our 3 overseas European additions this year have already lost games due to injury, so that's unfortunate. But now what this results in is you've got the man games lost to injury, but again, the Oilers have once again shuttled up to the NHL Mr. William Lagesson. William Lagesson is back with the Edmonton Oilers. What I need to do there is go get you the stats on William Lagesson so far in the AHL this year, because he was up at one point and then he was sent down and now he's back up, and it just has been a crazy shuttle between Bakersfield and the NHL for Mr. William Lagesson. And you know what? He's played 2 games so far in the AHL this season. 2 games played, like I said, with an assist on the ledger. So some production on the back end for William Lagesson. What you do need to know out of him is the simple fact, if I can pay attention, he's a -2 and has 6 shots on goal. So this is where we get to talk about the simple fact of the Oilers, right? What's the chances here we see William Lagesson draw into the lineup? And we've already talked about that. But for the Oilers, are you going to play Brandon Manning over your call-up from the AHL, who you've now twice, maybe if things go that way, wanted to test in the NHL? Lagesson was one of the last cuts from camp, all that dandy. William Lagesson definitely deserves a chance to be on this Oilers team. And I think his journeyman kind of career so far through the minors kind of shows that. So what do you think? What do you think, right? That's the question here at itself is, does William Lagesson deserve to get the nod in those alternate jerseys, the new jerseys, Friday night against Detroit? Or do you go back to Brandon Manning and say, hey, good goal, what do you got? And that's a tough question. And that feels weird for me to say. I didn't lead off with the whole weird amble about Brandon Manning and me and yelling on YouTube about Brandon Manning, not to say something in which I kind of have to double back on myself and eat my words a little bit, because now, guys, we've got a total depth defenseman scoring goals for the Oilers. And I mean, yeah, okay, sure, it's just one goal. But guys, my goodness, I've been yelling for 6 games prior to last night that the Oilers defense needs to get shots on goal. And what does the 7th defenseman for those first 6 games do in a pivotal moment of his first game of the Oilers year? He gets a shot on goal and scores. Okay, you know what? That right in itself is almost enough, with a new leaf turned over this year, to give a second chance on a guy in a second game back-to-back nights. Almost. Now, again, that's where William Lagesson being called up complicates this. Because I like Lagesson. I want to see what he is as an NHL defenseman. I want to see what he can bring in that future 7th defenseman role, or 6th, whatever William Lagesson ends up being for the Oilers, right? Because, I mean, yeah, sure, we are already talking whose spot does Larson take when he gets back. Well, it's pretty obvious that, yeah, Benning goes to the 7th defenseman, meaning Manning's out and blah, 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 blah. But I'm sorry. Then what happens when one of these kids want to come up? There goes Benning. There goes Russell, right? And that's where it's just a matter of the Oilers finding the time for these guys to develop a little bit in the NHL and develop a lot this season in the AHL. And this is one of the spots in which they can use William Lagesson to use that little bit of NHL development. However, here we are. We're 7 games into the NHL season. And as of October 17th, 2019, according to the EdmontonOilers.com MIC injury report, we've lost 25 man games to injury. 6 in Larson, 7 in Brodziak, 1 in Nygaard, 1 in Persson to date from the newest injury, 3 in Archibald, 3 in Chiasson, 2 in Sheehan, 1 in Persson from his shoulder injury, and then 1 in Thomas Shirko with his whatever surgery he had. I can't remember. My bad, but guys, it's a never-ending cycle of how Oilers seasons go. Is injuries just rack up early and often. So you know what? Yeah, we're 6-1. And to further my video from earlier, we can sit here and complain about one thing. The injury bug has already bit this Oilers roster for 25 NHL games through the first 7 games. So 25 NHL games of our caliber signed talent. That's crazy. That's crazy. I know, yeah, Kyle Brodziak's kind of wishy-washy one. I know, but you can wishy-washy it all you want. That's still 25 man games the Oilers have lost, and we're only 7 games into the year. So a tough go for us as it stands right now. But William Lagesson, will he be part of solving that issue? What do we get to see out of William Lagesson is really the key here. And you know what? We missed one whole side of this argument. I already said a forward is out of the equation for a while, right? Joakim Nygaard's out of the equation. Now, we're not complaining about only having 13 forwards up front, because that really allows us to be a little bit more accountable on who is better out of Russell, Haas, Archibald, Granlund, Kara, Sheehan. Who am I missing? The other guys? Sure, we'll go with it. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Yurko's in there as well, I guess, who I'm missing. But that really allows us to kind of find the time for more conversation when you're sitting one guy instead of 2. So that's a nice little dandy thing right there for us right now. But with that said, who's going to step up? And that's been our question so far this year, is we've already been talking, I've already hit it, why the bottom 6 lack of scoring is not an issue so far. Well, at some point it does become an issue. And you see games like last night, if we didn't get those 2 depth goals out of the blue line, guys, we were in for a scary, terrible loss to the Philadelphia Flyers. However, we did get those goals, and we hung on for some kind of weird, sloppy, terrible, great 6-3 win led by Connor McDavid's 5 points. Sure, we'll go with it. But it is what it is, right? It's a weird kind of go to start this season. But it is what it is when you lose 25 man games to injury. And now we've really got to start seeing who's going to step up in this whole mess that is the Oilers roster as the guys go down. Injuries are going to happen all year long, and people have to be capable of stepping up at key moments. And we saw that in Brandon Manning last night. No, I don't think any of us, no matter if you would have been like, oh, Brandon Manning's skating when he's going to score a goal, I don't even think you could have sat there and seriously took yourself serious in all that if that came out of your mouth. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. But last night, we get the goal out of Brandon Manning. So what do you buy, right? So, guys, I'm going to leave this debate to you. William Lagesson called up, Persson out with a concussion, and of course Nygaard on the RR. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Guys, I'm Tyson, this is Stolny TV. As always, I will catch you in the next one.